Start the recording and let's go. Darren, they're on your own.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Darren Charcudian, Chair of the Street Fair Task Force. And tonight on the agenda, we have one update from Joe Giovanni. It's going to be a mid-year update on the revenue raised year to date, and then projections, and then just update what the environment is. I know still slowly coming out of COVID here, so Joe will give us a brief update on that, and then we can ask some questions about the street fairs, and revenue, and go first. Joe, please.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, so I'm Joe Giovanni, president of Mardi Gras Festival Productions, as you know. It's been a rough several years since COVID, as we all know. But it's slowly coming back. It is coming back, but I'm happy to report that tourism is back. A lot of people are coming back to their offices that have not been in the offices for the last 2 years at least. And there's just signs of hope that we're slow to recover compared to the rest of the country from what I'm being told by other people in my business, but we are coming back slowly. So we actually let me give it to everybody. So everybody has a projection sheet of what we're planning. We feel is going to happen for the entire year.
These are the street fairs that City wants sponsor.
Yes.
Yes. So for people who are not familiar with this, like Betty or Mimi, we use the money that we raise through Joe, the street fair money, for consultants, for summer help, for things like when we talk about potentially at the community board having quarterly food before a full board meeting and things like that. There are a lot of things that it comes out of that. So that's the point. Joe?
So I don't know, as long as we've been doing events for CB1, you have 2 multi-block street fairs. One that takes place usually on July 4th on Fulton Street. It's normally it would be a 3-block event, but because of the lack of vendors that are back and participating, we've really only been filling up about 2 of those blocks. It is getting a little better, but just more and more vendors are either coming back or had moved away and are coming back. But a lot of merchants actually who would either close their businesses or to supplement their existing businesses have been becoming vendors, basically, especially restaurant people. So it's a good a good way for them to outreach to the public, number one, and let people know that they're back and they're up for business. And everybody today is selling things through the internet, not so much food people, but regular merchants are selling everything to the internet. So it's a good format for them to give out cards and leaflets to let them know that you can buy this merchandise online from there and help their businesses. So it is coming back. You had 2 multi-block events. You have one that took place already on July 4th. The second one is in October, and there's a typo on this. It says 2019, but it's really 2023. That's a typo. And we're projecting for that also because even though it's a good stretch of property, it's on Broadway from Liberty Street to Rector Street. We can only use one side of the block because of all of the construction and the bike lanes and everything else that goes on Broadway. I know you guys live with it on a daily basis, so you know what I'm talking about.
Pat can't hear us. You should get in.
Oh,
You
Pat.
need to talk to the owl, Joe.
Oh, okay. Pat. So anyway, we believe that this year the revenue from the 2 multi-block events will be $4,000. It could go a little higher based on the second one, but right now, based on our projections, it looks like you're going to be getting $4,000 for those 2 multi-blocks. Then you also have the 2 side streets, Pat, and I know you're familiar with that on Liberty Street from Broadway to Church Street. They're wet block events. And those are weekday events that we have been successful in the past because of the office workers who love to come out basically and have lunch, outside and partake in all the other activities that go on. And from those two single block events, we feel that the revenue, well, actually, they took place already. The revenue from that is going to be $3,000. We used to do three events for you in Bowling Green, but Bowling Green, because of the construction project that the MTA is doing, took over actually all the available space on the plaza of Bowling Green. So we couldn't use them. That we cannot use the space for at least this year, assuming construction is finished for next year. We'll be back, but the way the project is going, from what I understand, they're already behind schedule. So I don't know if that's going to happen. But in the interim, to replace that, and we tried everywhere with parks and a lot of different agencies, and even Lucian tried while he was here to replace that. We couldn't do it. But I did meet with the street activity permit office, which is part of the mayor's office, and I explained the whole situation to them about the lack of revenue that was going to come in from not only your organization, because there was several other organizations, community organizations that host events there. And what they agreed to do is grant us a permit, at least CB1, that's the only organization that they're allowing that for, is to do sidewalk sale on the sidewalk of Liberty Street, on the that would be the south side of the sidewalk on Liberty Street, along the park, basically Zuccotti Park. That is going to, that they granted the permit for, I believe, up to 15 Wednesdays throughout from the start of July, I believe it was July 15th through the end of October. So we're estimating that, I mean, it's a much smaller space, obviously, and we can only use a certain portion of the sidewalk because there's pet impediments along the way. But we feel confident that you're going to receive $7,500 for those sidewalk events.
How many of those sidewalk events were purchased?
They should be about 50. We did one, yeah.
We did one.
Yeah.
Mhm. Thanks.
Then the other activity that actually saved both of us from last year was Sabo also gave us a permit to do the holiday market that took place on Liberty Street in the same location, but only out in the street along the curb. So, well, it was really the sidewalk. The same situation was along the sidewalk. Unfortunately, though, the response from most of the participating vendors and merchants in that was not great. Last year, most of the offices were still unoccupied. Many of them have come back, so we're looking forward to hopefully. That's why I really pushed. I want to do these sidewalk events to show that things are back and life is coming back to New York. And tourism was way off, and unfortunately, which is something that none of us can control, we did not have a good. It wasn't a good. There was a lot of rain. There was a lot of inclement weather during that period of time, which frequently happens because we have holiday markets in other locations also. So it wasn't very successful. But like I said, I think that along the way, we're continuing to promote it. I have the application in for it again for you. So hopefully that will take place again. And the minimum that you would receive for that would be $10,000. So we're projecting that the minimum you're going to receive, and I believe last year's was just about $17,000. I believe this year that it will be back up. It will be in the $24,000 range for the activities.
Thank you.
So I think that basically sums up the projections anyway.
Okay, so looking at this, we've received $5,000 from existing, and $5,500 from existing that have already occurred. The Multiple Fulton
Right,
Street
I don't know, I don't think that we have actually sent in the funds, because I have to go over that
Leave
with,
occurred.
Lucy, yes.
We
So
have not-
I think, no, you haven't gotten it yet, but I didn't know if you wanted to, that's one of the things I wanted to find out, do you want, because I think there was a collection issue with it, goes to the Department of Finance. Is
We'll
it,
work that out,
Yes.
see, as to when you send the money over, as to what year it falls in.
yes, because I know they returned, I think last year, they returned the funds to us and whatever, I thought maybe it might be best if we
It's
did.
okay, everybody's back in the offices now, it should be a
Right.
little bit better.
Okay, so we'll work that out.
All right, great. Well, thank you for that update, Joe. I don't have any questions. Any questions from the committee or anyone else in the room?
Pat?
They're always on Liberty Street. I've got to tell you though, the last one was a much nicer mix of foods that they were selling. Yeah, the Christmas, I didn't like what they were selling. Maybe you can find some other vendors.
No, it was rough last year. Well, two things happened. First of all, it wasn't planned for the entire year. So it was a kind of like a last minute grant that we wound up getting, so we didn't have a lot of time to promote it and select, basically the exhibitors that we wanted. And there's definitely, until today, we're still off about 40% of our existing vendors that we normally had pre-COVID. So whether they moved or were ill or went out of the business or moved on to other things, it just, we're kind of like a shadow of the way retail is right now in New York City. And as you know, retail all over the entire city is way off. I mean, many businesses closed and went out of business through the COVID experience. So things are starting to turn around and come back again now, and that includes, regular vendors as well. So you're right, Pat. We are trying to remarket the entire event, so this way we have a much nicer mix of exhibitors like we're doing right now on the sidewalks.
Good luck.
Thank you, Pat.
Question, I'm not familiar with how you get vendors. Is there a vendor pool and you send out letters?
Yes,
People,
yes.
You have a set?
Actually, you're like me. We're dating each other, right? Everything is done electronically these days. It's all in the internet and emails and, all of
Okay.
that. So, yes, we have a big, because we produce not only these events, but we have about 60 or 70 other events that we do all over the city. So we do have a fairly large pool of exhibitors that participate in events.
So the reason I'm asking is because if I go to an event and I see a vendor that I think might be nice, how do I let them know that to get in touch with you, or
Yes.
is there a?
If you can remember this, nycstreetfairs.com, and then we'll be
What,
glad
just
to.
bring it in, give it to Lucy,
Yeah.
will send it. Or I'll send it to Joe,
Mhm.
or send you his, absolutely.
So just get a card from them or something
could, sure.
and get the information? Oh,
Sure.
okay,
Yeah, we love it.
okay.
The more the merrier.
Yeah, but when you're talking about diversity,
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so we will, I think, next, we'll get another update from you. We'll put something on the calendar for November, December. And
Sure.
We'll do the,
Yeah.
And I'll keep you updated along the way as the other projects are going.
we will
Sounds great.
get an update, in September.
Yes. Mhm. Sure.
All right, if there aren't any other questions, I'll let you pass it off to the executive committee's meeting.
So we will end for the street fair task force.
Yes, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned for everybody who's came for that. I know most everybody's looking along. Pat, say it again.
I said, Joe, enjoy the rest of your summer.
Thank you, Pat. You too. You too.
Pass over, it's nice. Thanks, Joe. Good to see you. Nice
Nice to meet you.
nice to be back in person.
On there, I believe.
All
If
right,
you just arrived, please sign in with a Q code.
yep. See, this is all about street activity and events today. That's like the whole thing. Because as we're coming back in, making it work, that's the thing about it. Yeah, all right, so how many people do I need in the room for exec? 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need one more.
Somebody.
But you can't count that.
You know what? Hey, Darren, can you hang for a little bit? Awesome.
Yes.
That'll help. I know that Trisha's on the way and Jason's on the way, so I'm just gonna wait for them to. I need you to stay until they both walk in the room. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 6, 7. Yeah,
So you got
one
Betty,
more.
right?
Yeah, I got Betty toy. I need one more quorum. I know that Susan, is on the way, and we can all say congratulations when Susan gets here, because she is now a grandma.
Oh, nice.
As of today.
Ooh,
And so she got to hold the baby, and then she's coming down.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Trisha's on the way and Jason's.
Okay.
All right, so just give us a couple minutes and then we'll go from there.
She'll have to go to the hospital room to come to a committee board meeting.
Oh, gosh.
If you remember, at our full board, we had somebody tune in from the hospital room
Yeah.
to participate. So,
I feel
yeah.
shame.
All right, let's pause the recording until we officially start.
Vicky's trying to join, she's.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Welcome. This is the Executive Committee of Community Board 1. It's 6:30 on July 20th. I'm Tammy Meltzer. I want to thank everybody for being so patient today. And thanks, Susan, for making it. We have 2 more who will come in, but we will not delay. We're going to get the meeting started quite quickly first with our Tunnel to Towers crew.
Oh,
And I know this is a surprise for our SAPO guests who are presenting tonight, but we're going to let them go first because this is, yay! Tunnel to Towers is an example that I would like you to hear. They have been with us for how many years now? 22 years, and they have worked with the community to a level that they are a valued community partner. And even though they have as many runners as some of the other large ones that you hear massive complaints about, hey, Tricia, too.
Everybody can.
You don't hear massive complaints about this. And I will tell you, it is because they've listened to community feedback, they've come back to us and said, here's what we can do, here's something we can't do, but they've tried to actually work with us over the last 22 years to a point that we're like, yeah, look, Susan's back. And it's an important thing for you to know that we don't only complain, we also do support.
Yes, you do.
And with that, Susan, take it away.
Pat, let me know if you can't hear me. Oh, excellent. So good evening. My name is Susan Starr, and I have the tremendous honor of being the director of the annual Tunnel to Towers New York City Run and Stair Climb at One World Trade Center. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to be here in this room with you this evening. It is good to be back in the building. On behalf of the foundation and the Siller family, I thank you for your time and your continued heartfelt support. Who we are, for those of you who don't know. Tunnel to Towers was started in memory of FDNY firefighter Stephen Siller. Stephen was the young 505 who had just gotten off work, Squad 1, on September 11th, when he heard on his scanner that the first plane had hit the towers. With that, he returned to Squad 1, the truck had already left. So he grabbed his gear from his locker, got in his personal vehicle, and drove to the mouth of the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel where it was closed for security reasons. Stephen put his keys on the front seat, left his vehicle there, strapped 60 pounds of gear on his back, and ran through the tunnel to the towers, where he lost his life alongside other heroes and innocents that day. So that's why we are Tunnel to Towers. The Siller family's philosophy, and one that is embraced by all who work at the foundation, is it is better to light a candle than curse the darkness. So that is the heart of our foundation. Our mission at the foundation is to honor the sacrifice of firefighter Stephen Siller, as well as to honor our military and first responders who continue to serve and make the supreme sacrifice of life and limb for our communities and our country and each one of us in this room. I'd like to take a few minutes just to update you on where we are. I am really delighted to tell you that the foundation has grown tremendously in the past 22 years. We were, I'm going off script. To honor the lives lost on September 11th, the foundation has developed our In the Line of Duty program, which provides mortgage-free homes to our nation's most catastrophically injured veterans and first responders, as well as the Gold Star and fallen first responder families with young children. In 2021, we expanded our program to include fallen first responders. Initially, it was just something that we weren't able to encompass, but now we are able to. So in addition to military and Gold Star, we have been able to expand our fallen first responder program to include those who have lost their lives to 9/11 related illnesses. And in 2022, we launched our Homeless Veterans Program, which is a national campaign aimed at eradicating homelessness in the veteran community. In addition to providing housing support, the foundation also provides comprehensive care by connecting veterans with local appropriate sources that cover mental health counseling, skills training, and addiction support. So I noticed in just driving down the West Side Highway, we have a problem, and altogether we are starting to tackle that. Good news, because of you, by the end of 2020, we had delivered a total of 200 mortgage-free homes. So initially, it was the goal of the foundation to, in total, by the end, provide 200 mortgage-free homes. We were able to do that by the end of 2020. By the end of 2021, this indicates that this is indicative of the growth. We were able to increase that number in 1 year to 450.
Oh, wow, so 250 in 1 year.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So just wait, by the end of 2022, that number went just over 1,000. So what we are doing together, each one of you pulling up a chair to the table, everything that you do, whether you think it's big, whether you think it's small, whether it's just putting your hand up to vote, whether it's giving me a call because there's an issue and we need to talk it through, every single one of you brings something to the table that got us to over 1,000 mortgage-free homes. By continuing to keep administrative costs low, we are currently able to allocate 95.1 cents of every dollar directly to our programs. So every dollar that you give us, well, just over 95 cents is going to our programs. For 8 years in running, Tunnel to Towers has achieved the highest rating, 4 stars, from Charity Navigator, which is the nation's largest and most utilized evaluator of charities. And I would like to point out that Frank Silla remains an uncompensated volunteer foundation. He is not paid. Tonight with me is our Senior Director of Events, Stephanie Whittier. Hi, Frank.
Thank you for letting us here.
A few of our event details. So each year on the last Sunday of September, as per the City of New York, we host our Tunnel to Towers Run, which is our signature event. What that means for us here in the room and for Community Board 1 and our friends who are in this neighborhood, our load-in is Saturday, September 23rd, and our event is Sunday, September 24th. The run starts at 8:30 in the morning with a pre-wave. So we start in Brooklyn and then we run through the tunnel to the towers and we end on Vesey Street. So 8:30 in the morning is a pre-wave that includes our catastrophically injured service members. So many of those are triple and quadruple amputees. They are escorted by somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 West Point cadets each year. So it's really beautiful. And I'd like to say that every element of our run is really beautiful, but that's where the tears start. The run officially starts at 9:30 and our final wave goes off at approximately 10:40. And we have been able to hold that at 10:40. I can't promise, but we have over 20 years, so 10:40 is working out for us. Last year, the HLC opened at 12:30. We, according to CBTA. Look at you, and you're like, oh, am I wrong?
No, I'm trying to remember what HLC is.
Hewell Carry Tunnel.
Okay, thank you.
It's like, okay. So I know that there's a bit of an inconvenience. Hewell Carry opened by 12:30 last year, and also we make a commitment to NYPD to get the West Side Highway open at least to some extent by 2 p.m. Last year we had a hiccup. It went longer. It was the first year ever. I will be honest about that. And so this year we have a plan. There were some NYPD and some people that were reassigned because of UNGA. And so there were a couple of hiccups that were unexpected because the usual staff wasn't there. But it has been brought to my attention and we will be on top of that this year to make sure that doesn't happen. There's always one unexpected thing. That was it. This year on Vesey Street, we always end in a street fair. This street fair will begin at about 10 a.m., our program, and we should be done by 1. If there's an encore, 1:30. There are 2 acts this year. The opening act is a band called Generation Radio, and our headliner is Lady A. So we're working on streamlining that a bit and putting some of our program more heavily in Brooklyn at the start line. This way we can keep to a tighter timeline when we're over here in Manhattan. I hope you agree that this event is unifying, respectful, uplifting, that it honors and remembers those lost while celebrating strength, resilience of the community and families and friends left behind. It is our greatest desire to continue to be gracious guests. We realize we are guests while we are here, and to leave the area cleaner than when we arrive. So New York sanitation has been terrific, and Stephanie and I are personally in the street.
We are.
Latex gloves until it's all over. What we've been doing with regard to street closures, I've been reporting street closures to media, reader. And in addition, Patrick Murphy and I met over the phone last year. So one thing that we did discuss is that when I get those street closures out to you guys, if we could circulate those, because I do understand that River Terrace especially is difficult to get out of and at times impossible. And the more that we can share that information, the less frustrated people will be. So I will get that to you in writing. It really is the same every year unless NYPD decides on the spot that they're going to change something a little bit. But
Attempting to have some cross access on the north end is also really important. So I know you use River Terrace. I know you have Bessie and you have traditionally used Murray as the cleanup street necessarily. But Murray and Warren are the 2 that rip wrap the ball fields that are the utilized portion of the Sunday that we're always talking about. Beyond the fact that Rockefeller will be extremely active, it is the only park in Battery Park City that is large and open now. So even more important than ever to try and maintain access east-west and north-south to be able to at least move in and out of Battery Park City would be appreciated.
so I will get some things in writing to you in advance so you can take a look at it, because circumventing was something that post-run that I dug into a bit because there were questions and I wanted to understand, and I wanted to understand what NYPD was doing as well. And that information would be great to have in writing and also to share via email to the community to make sure that they know how to get in and out and during what time. Because part of the run route does come along the Esplanade. It crosses River Terrace, which is what the issue is. We're not actually using it, but NYPD will close that, not at my request, but because we cross it, because we have runners cross it.
We can certainly give feedback to safe.
Okay. No.
I mean, at least a question and not to. Have you been in contact in past years with someone from CDC or SAFO? Like either?
Yes.
Yes, so we're permitted, so I work with Desiree.
They work with them, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's part of their job, right? So it's either Desiree Beach and also, I can't. And Don Hills. Like I said.
Yeah, so the permitting goes through Desiree. So she's wonderful. She's always been wonderful. And everyone crossing for the run route. Once we get that last wave through, then we can open up. But just wanted to be clear, we're not officially taking over River Terrace. We're not actually on it. But there's a closure for a period of time, not the whole time.
Awesome.
Okay, so as always, I'd like to thank you for your consideration. As together we continue to support those who put it all on the line to protect and serve our communities and the families who love them. Once again, on behalf of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation and our program recipients, I'd like to extend our heartfelt gratitude for your gracious support and generosity. With your help, together we are truly accomplishing great things. And something that we often do is quote St. Francis at the foundation. So brothers and sisters, while we are here, let us do good. Can I answer any questions or maybe expand a bit?
I just wanted to know, how many you're anticipating this year?
So about 20,000.
And when will West Street close?
Street. And I want to double check this, but I did bring it because I thought I
It's
would be
opening
asked.
at 2 p.m., but when will it close?
So West Street.
About 9 a.m.
West Street usually closes down in the southbound direction at 7 a.m., 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. And as soon as they can begin to do a partial opening, so that doesn't mean it's totally closed, but as soon as they can begin to do a partial opening, they do. And that's done through NYPD traffic, but they do keep in touch with us.
And northbound is always open, right?
And northbound from 8 a.m. to 12 noon, parts of it.
Okay, any other questions around the table in the room before I go to anybody online? Board members online? Pat, do you have any questions? Nope. Matt, do you have any questions? I always see you have a question.
Thank you, and bravo.
That's it? Oh, that's fantastic. So, in the past, we've done a resolution. I've never seen since the last couple of years. We would do a resolution to support it. We would do the caveats to look at the traffic to ensure that there is access beyond just emergency access in the north. Right? Same things as we always have, make sure there's cross flow up and down, keep the bike paths open.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, fantastic.
So no plans to change, by the way, I didn't even mention that, but no plans to change other than.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really, thank you.
It's a great, yeah.
One of the question, you're still running the ferries across the river for everybody?
Yes.
That's unbelievably
fabulous.
heroic. And, you know, I'm thinking of the expense that
All right.
us represent for you, so thank you.
So, do we need to do a resolution on this? Are we good?
Yes,
We're
good. We have past ones, right?
We have passed ones.
So let's,
Change the date.
yeah,
May I make it?
yeah, yeah, right, Jason.
Betty?
It's going to suggest we do one, even the same we have them from the past. Actually, we don't have them from the past. Because they don't. We did one in like 2020 and it says
There's one in 2018.
one line to it. So anyway, there's one draft that's not a big deal.
What is it?
Yeah, well, I think we need to have a paper trail to do.
I'll do a new one because we're post-COVID, so I'm perfectly happy.
The date, what is the date of the event?
24.
It's 9/24/23. Nope.
No.
No,
That's why we're here.
yeah.
Waiting on it? Exactly. All right, so we have a resolution.
Yeah.
So I have it seconded.
A second.
Call the question. We're going to go by affirmation.
Voting on.
Supporting tunnel.
Yeah.
We're going to go by affirmation. Remember, if you're online, you have to have your camera on to vote. Right? Okay, so assuming everybody's a yes in the room, are there any no's? Hearing no no's, are there any abstentions? Hearing no abstentions, are there any recusals? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Welcome back, and we'll see you in September.
Thank you so much, everyone.
No, thank you for doing this. Thank you. See you.
This, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, terrific.
All right, all right.
Moving on.
The next, okay. The next presenter we have is actually SAPO themselves.
Oh,
And this is super important for us as a community board because I think as we come out, there's always been questions that we've had with large scale events that are 20,000 people coming through the neighborhood and feedback that we've given that doesn't seem to go anywhere. So we think, but they were amazing and presented at the Borough District Cabinet meeting. And I learned so much that I was enraptured and asked for them to come and present to the executive board. So we have a better idea. And when we're talking about the impacts on the community, we actually have a better understanding of the path to get our feedback back out beyond the resolution, where it goes, how it happens, and be better prepared. So with that, gentlemen, please introduce yourself. We have your slides, which Lauren can pull up for you.
Right, can Chris drive or will someone else drive just to like do?
It is up to you, whatever makes you happy. You
I don't
can
know.
press the button.
who does anymore?
I mean, I might be real, I'll just be like, next page.
Yeah,
With
that's good.
We like a good momentum through the.
Yeah.
process.
Okay.
I hate to say.
So I'm gonna make this fairly quick. I think, we'll see. So my name is Paresh Patel. I'm the Director of Operations and Strategic Projects for Citywide Event Coordination Management.
I may be a new name or face to some people, but I've actually been with CECM. I started with them like over 10 years ago. And I left for a couple of years and came back for more. And so that's my role. I apologize on Dawn Tolson's behalf. She is the director, the executive director of CECM. And she couldn't make it today. And this is Chris.
Good evening, all. Yes, my name is Chris Denorian. I am the Operations and Strategic Planning Manager over at CECM. Thanks for having us, and I'm looking forward to sharing what we have for you guys today.
Awesome.
Yeah, so let's take it away. You can go on to the next slide there. So CECM is Citywide Event Coordination and Management, SABO Street Activity Permitting Office. So CECM basically serves as the citywide hub. We're not necessarily an enforcer. We can't tell Parks and Recreation how to run their events or NYPD how to run their marathons or parades, but we give guidance. And we serve as shepherds to these big scale events. So why ask the young woman before who she's dealt with? I was just curious because I know Desiree Beach and she's amazing. And so I just wanted to know who she worked with, but that would be an example of someone from the SABO office actually coordinating with NYPD for this 20,000 plus participant event that's going to happen on the 24th. So that's sort of what CECM serves. You can go to the next slide. Next slide.
Awesome.
Next slide. All right, so a couple of prior slide. I'm really bad at this. So a couple of agency programs that we permit, okay? We have DOT-related open streets, which is a new evolving thing that I'm fortunately and unfortunately involved with right now. That is a DOT initiative, and there are about 200, a little shy of 200, spread across all boroughs in the city, where streets are blocked out for most of them every day of the week during the summer season. Some of them may be alternating days, and it's geared towards cultural programming, civic in nature. There really shouldn't be any sale of merchandise or alcohol or food or beverages of any sort. It's evolving, and we are in the process of writing the rules for that through the SABO team. We're in talks with legal, we're in talks with DOT, just to define the parameters of that, to define what is considered a low impact open street program versus a high impact. So that's the nature of open streets. We also have something that we've had for a few years, Bike the Block, and that's more instructive. That's happening around all the boroughs as well. This year, I believe DOT has 8 Bike the Block programs spread like maybe every 4 weeks apart at various neighborhoods. So that's the nature of that. We have summer streets.
I'm closer to the mic.
Oh, really? Where is the mic? Is that
Right
mine?
there.
Right there.
It looks like
I thought
an
that was a mister. All right, so we have summer streets, we have big multi-blocks, and Water on the Go has been a DEP thing around for a while, and National Night Out. Next. Sorry. So the different types of events we have are cleanups, we have farmers markets, we have health fairs, we have religious events and rallies, we have mobile units, we have block parties and plaza events, press conferences, production events meaning like the load in and load outs. And we have single block festivals, street festivals, and street fairs. Next slide, please. So here are the rules. I know this is a sticking point, and I will table the questions till the end about this just to go through the whole overview. Deadlines, I don't need to read each and every one of them. I believe street fairs and plaza events, the shorter time period for this is a sticking point with this community board in particular, but other community boards as well. You're not alone in that way. But you'll see like some of the bigger scale events, like the block parties, farmers markets, religious events, cleanups, mobile units, 60 days in advance, they can apply for something. No shorter. Health fairs, 30 days. Next slide, please. And this, I think, is the big. So with street events and plaza events in particular, and production events, you have the shorter time period. When we say 14 days for the street events and plaza events, we really are referring to the smallest kind of street event or plaza event. When you start talking about a medium scale one to a large scale one, the days in advance that you have to apply for that grow. So it goes from like 14 to, I believe, 30, is that right? 45 in that way. Production events, I think less so SAPO and more so film, media and entertainment. They're the ones that basically park and plumb our system with bunches and bunches of loaded and load outs. And that is something that we try to rein in, but we don't really have governance over. But that's where you see that shorter time period where you get these flash notifications of production, parking, no parking in areas.
Who has governance then?
You have to talk to media and entertainment, the commissioner there was the last time. Have you heard her name?
Get her on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, it's not to say that we can't wield influence over them, but it is their agency, right? So what we try to do, and this is, I didn't really want to go to this point yet, but it's fine, it's worth saying. One of the most important messages I want to convey in this presentation is use the database. Whoever needs access to this database from this community board, we can set you up as a community board user. Because once you have access to the database, you will receive daily notifications on events happening in your community board. They will be informational in nature. So anything for street activity, these SAPO events that you're looking at right here, we will provide, you can access the database and you can see the list of them. You can click on them and see a very general event summary. Furthermore, you can use what's known as the correspondence feature. In that correspondence feature, that's where you chime in, you recommend an approval, you recommend a denial, and you give reasons behind that denial. If something is denied, we give that applicant 5 business days to appeal that denial, and we reshare that with the community board. And this happens with the bids as well. So I'll talk a little more about that with the screens that speak to that, but that's sort of, Tammy and everyone, that's really one of the reasons.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Tammy.
Yeah.
Are you saying you are now allowing everyone to input in the system?
You.
That's what you just, if I'm hearing you.
I'm suggesting that if you have active community board users that want to access our database, give us a list. I'm not gonna say 20 people from the community
No.
board,
Neither am I.
but I've seen, put it this way, I've seen up to 4.
Yep.
Right? Generally speaking, I see 2 per community board.
I only question that because I've been doing it for 100 years. And prior to that was just myself and the district manager, but you're saying now they're allowing them to board?
I have seen up to 4, and I think that's 10.
Oh, thank you.
Think about how many less times you'll have to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, right, Chris, in the database?
Yeah.
So, if I come back and say that my risk got flat for saying that, I don't know why, but I'm pretty sure I did something. Okay?
Yeah.
And part of that too, the number might be up also, because the system is cleaner now, it's new, it's more, there are more notifications coming up. And people in general, our society's come to the point where they're used to these kind of things, right? So enough of that, next slide, please. Permit process, next slide. So, very high level, applicant submits the permit online, we have a SAPO e-apply website, they pay $25, and boom, the agencies will receive that application. So we're talking about SAPO, our office, I think there are about a dozen of us, and they have different designations. Most of them are divided by either borough or event type. And they retrieve those applications from the queue. And as soon as they pick up that application, that's when that application status changes from submitted to pending or under review. That is when it hits your notifications. So one thing I will say, in lieu of not adding every single person that wants to have access to the database, people can certainly be added to that distribution list, right? So even if we say if I'm still limited to 2 community board users accessing our database, we can add as many people onto those notifications. So that's why I speak to the status. The application assesses a fee. The applicants will be assessed a fee if they are larger scale events. And the CECM staff will attend and monitor these larger scale events. The bigger the event, for example, this Tunnel to Towers program, it's a wonderful program. I guarantee you our office will be highly involved in not just Desiree Beach shepherding the paperwork of it, so to speak, but also the walkthroughs, also talking with NYPD and FDNY and DSNY and so forth. So that's how we do the monitoring. Next slide, please. I'm not gonna, because I can't read it from here, and I also, it speaks. I can't read it. So this is part of what I was speaking about. You can go to the next slide as well. This is the whole recommendation piece. Next slide, please. I want to see, keep going. Yeah, okay, so there we go. You like the pictures?
Yeah.
I give full credit to Dawn Tolson. She kept me until all hours with those pictures and she denied every one of my creative choices, but those were hers. So so this is sort of the CECM umbrella. You know that we do deal with parks, we deal with CECM, we do NYPD. DCAS is sort of, they've returned again to us a little bit after a little bit of an absence. Hudson River Park, Brooklyn Bridge Park. I think Brooklyn Bridge Park mainly uses it for athletic events. And of course, next slide, please. Oh, and that's fine. We have over 270,000 registered applicants across all these eApply websites. So that's, now I'm not saying they're all active, but that's, you know, it's a living, breathing thing. So this is the information for logging in for the 2 and hopefully 4 community board users. I see Lucy giving me the wide eye, but I'm
I
guaranteeing.
don't write anyone to my stuff.
But you would be given your unique ID, right? So based on your credentials, right? We would orchestrate that
That's up to the
through
chair.
OTI.
Don't worry, I got you.
So that's the sign on screen. You can go to the next screen. This is the look and feel of our database. When you get on, this says community board 3, but it would be the same for each of the community boards. You have your dashboard, very basic. Review the upcoming events, review what's happened today in your community, and you can even search for events. Next slide, please. And so 3 tabs. First tab is SAPO events. And that's where you can actually click on things and find the summary. We do our darndest. I know Chris and I are very good because we handle plaza events at Open Streets, but all the agency, all the different coordinators, if you don't feel like you're seeing documents for an event, pick up the phone, you know who the coordinator is. Or not pick up the phone, email them. Email that coordinator. So if Desiree is not, making visible these documents, just shoot her an email and say, hey, can you make this document visible? Are there any documents to be made visible for this event? So empower yourself. And I'm not throwing anyone in my team under the bus because they are busy as all heck, but it's empower yourself to just do an email because you have email information on whoever in our office is coordinating that permit. What I know Chris and I do, because I work right next to Chris and we're a team this way, we make sure community boards see every document that's happening, right? But I only handle Open Streets and Chris handles positive, so it's a limited sphere. Next slide. Next slide is informational. Oh, I'm sorry. I need new glasses, by the way. So the event stuff, this is where you will actually be able to, thank you. This is where you have 3 different tabs. You have event information, that's SAPO. You have informational tab, which is Parks, NYPD, film, right? So that's where you'll see a ton of those production events for film. You will also have a tab that will alert you to changes that have happened recently. That's new. So it'll have a flag indicating if something has changed. And that could be a denial of an event, it could be a withdrawing of an event, it could be an approval of an event that was pending. All right, so just pay attention to what you do for those that sign on, what you see there. And then we also have a violations tab. I think personally, if I say so myself, our office can do a better job of documenting violations on an annual basis. But that they are there. Excellent. And so this is what the event summary looks like. I think everyone is familiar with this, or whoever uses it. It gives you the event nuts and bolts, start and end date, the street, intersecting streets, the applicant information, the sponsor information. Next slide, please. Here's what I'm talking about. For those that access the database, this is important. This is why it might behoove us to have more than just 2 people in active community boards, such as your community board. So we get 2 more players involved, that's great. Recommend an approval, recommend a disapproval. If you recommend a disapproval, please provide information, please indicate your ask of that event sponsor, what's missing, and we see that right away. All right, so again, we can add more names to that daily notification that's outside the database. So you can get a running list of events that are happening, that are pending or approved, right? This is for the limited number that will have access. So there are multiple ways of where that correspondence can occur. Next slide, please. And this is what I was talking about with documents. So in this case, we could actually, and I do think in a lot of cases, the community boards are the default. They are able to see it. There might be certain event types where the documents that's not defaulted to for various reasons, but if there's an event that you think you're not seeing documentation on, you have the information to know who in our office is actually shepherding that event. You can just email. Okay? Next slide. And this is a correspondence. So this has really taken off. I left 4 years ago. This was one of the last things, enhancements. So it's a personal proud moment for me because in comes the pandemic, for better or worse, obviously much worse, but the pandemic comes in, makes people a lot more savvy with their computers or use them or forced to use them. And people were complaining about this tool. Applicants now use this heavily, and it's reduced the volume of calls for our office, which is good. It's not that we don't like talking to people, it's that it's more efficient and it's an accurate paper trail. And if we're ever foiled for any event, we have an accurate correspondence. And I've even indicated in there, like, I think for one of the most simplest events, the Horticultural Society, I'm sure you've heard of that, right? Or maybe not. They do tabling. They give away plants. I love plants. Everyone loves plants. And for one reason or another, Queens, Community Board 1, they just wanted to speak to the applicant. That's never happened. But I use this tool to actually inform the applicant, your community board, please reach out to them. Here's their number. Boom. And within 24 hours, they did. So it's a wonderful tool that way. And it's being used by community board member, by the applicant, and by SAFE. So, next slide. Next slide, that's a violation indication. And that's what a map looks like. That's, next slide.
The conflict section shows construction, correct?
It does. Thank you for pointing that out. So you can go back up to that. So the map, thanks, Debbie. The map will, I shouldn't have glossed over this. It's not just people writing in the name of the street. This is geospatially coded. So an applicant can't just write center and spell center incorrectly. It will ding them and ask them to choose an actual legitimate street. And that's how we get these coordinates, right? So when we have that mapped out, when we have an applicant applying for a DOT-owned street, which is every street in the city, right? And they're choosing their street, they're choosing intersecting street 1, intersecting street 2, that's in the database. When that application is submitted, CECM automatically knows what other events may be conflicting. And it could be a conflicting event, or it could be even an embargo or a street under construction. UNGA is a great example of us putting a moratorium on certain events in the Times Square area, for example. So there are, DOT is using this database as well and blocking out spots of street. I'm sorry, you went general. Yeah. So that speaks to complex. Next slide. Right, go 2 slides down. So that's parts and next slide, please. I feel those that are very obscure.
Say again?
It also has the traffic apocalypse.
Yes, it is, yes.
So this is what I was talking about of real-time status updates. We give the applicant updates to events. And so an update to an event could be anything. It could be the change of the date. It could be a change in the event status. It could be a change in the event location. There are notifications that go out. And that kind of status change will be dinged for your community board or any community. So that's the purpose of this notification. Next,
We appreciate you denying Broadway between Chambers and Warren. It's a busy street.
and that's what the notification looks like. It ain't pretty, but it gives you the event ID number. It gives you enough information. It gives you the event ID number, which is a unique number, chronologically, an increasing number. And it gives you the name of the event and the start dates. Okay, next one. And Tammy and Lucy, give me more names if you want more people on that. It's up to you.
We're not saying anything just yet. We do have some questions, we do have some things, and I have some ideas, but we're
Okay.
gonna keep silent.
Okay, okay. And so you can keep going. It's like there are search options that this is only for that you have from your community board access to the database. Next one. I chose that picture. All right, so next slide. So the biggest events. Sorry, that's not, I have this more visually nice, but, oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So for Manhattan, you guys had a hell of a lot of street events last year, and last year we were still coming out of the pandemic technically. And it's only the numbers we're getting back to normal numbers. And stuff like open street, there's open culture on the horizon, things that came out of the pandemic, we're trying to get rules on. But for last year, for 2022, that's the tally for street events. This is the tally for Manhattan, okay? That's the tally for production events. That's the tally for plaza events. These are the big ones. Manhattan's interesting. I think these numbers tend to be the same, like who are the heavy hitters, but it's hard to tell. It's very unpredictable right now because, the pandemic really kind of threw us all for a loop, right? So we got to see where things go.
Your historical data.
Great question. I'll get to that.
Let's see.
Okay.
If we,
So next slide, so these, I'm sorry.
no. So what she was saying, it would be good to see how much it increased.
Yeah. That information is available. I think I have it in the slide, but I'll let you know in a second. And that's sort of just 6,721 permits approved last year. I'm telling you right now, we're close to 6,000 already.
Wow.
So generally speaking, in years past, when I left, like 3-4 years ago, they were hitting the 9,000 and 10,000. That's just street activity, right? That's just our office. When you talk about someone like Parks and Recreation, well, go to the next. So I think I have it. All right, so that's the total number. You can see how the numbers are ticking up, right? Right, and it's definitely gonna be more for street events in 2020, 2020. Next slide, please. Permitting across the There you go. All right, so Parks and Recreation has 30,000. The lion's share of this, actually, the lion's share of this are their field and court lots, naturally, right? So think about PSAL, like the public school athletic, right? They are permitting things across the city. Of course, those are their ball fields. That's a show. So that's a lot of that, But there's special events taking place in parks, whether they're small family reunions or big scale events that NYPD might be throwing for like different fraternals. That takes place in parks also. So that's the nature of those. And Brooklyn Bridge Park, as I said, I mentioned I think they're strictly doing athletic stuff there. And they have smaller space, obviously.
And this doesn't include anything that happens in Battery Park City
That's
that's permitted separately.
Yes.
That's interesting. So Battery Park City, even those two athletic things that you named, between Warren, they're not part of DPR?
No.
Were they part of the Battery Park Association or something like that?
Because they own the land
Okay,
and they own everything on it.
so, right,
It's
State authority.
okay. And it's like part of Central Park, basically, right? So I didn't- it's like right? I mean, isn't that kind of?
No.
No, because
It's Battery Park Authority, and they operate their own parks, so it's not NYC Parks.
Yeah.
It's not PEP, they have their own enforcement, their own horticulture, their own permit
Everything.
process.
It's all state.
The only time that it overlaps is when it's a permit like tunnel to towers that comes to you, and then they also must permit within Battery Park section.
Gotcha. Have you ever come across anything with Battery Park? Or no?
No.
I've always thought in my head, I don't deal with the nuts and bolts of permitting, believe it or not, so I always thought in my head it was part of Hudson Park.
Yeah, no.
No, not at all.
It's completely separate, that's
Right,
another,
separate.
that's another permit.
You taught me, something, guys.
Yeah,
All right.
do something down here. Try it.
All right, so next one, please.
We're gonna get to a lot of really good questions that we have about permits.
So this is the hit list, as you can tell, as you can see, media and entertainment have a lot of permits, largely theater loading permits. Next sentence. So updates coming our way, and I think we're gonna wrap it up. So open streets, open culture, I talked about that. Next slide, please. So these are the improvements. We are working on empowering the applicant more, meaning giving them actual templates for what a good example of a site plan it looks like, what a good example of run a show. Our office largely does that already. What they do though is the staff, our team will actually individually upload those documents, as opposed to having the applicant just click on a resource library within EFY and use them. And that way we can keep the standards, So that's the whole point of one of the things that we're doing. We're also getting more stringent about tracking. I am on a personal mission to track violations better. Because if we have the historical data there, we can do trending on the types of events that are committing violations, not necessarily the applicants themselves, but the events that are skirting some of the policies. One of the big things, we are so short-staffed, we finally have 3 new hires officially. We're getting back to barely where we were 4 years ago. And we're excited. And one of the people will be like a web designer or a marketing kind of person. So that person's going to be charged with revamping our mammoth, insanely long user guide. So that's part of it. The other thing too with alerts, it's okay. The alerts, that's another thing that we've just implemented too, is that we now have notifications that go out to the applicant. A lot of these applicants don't comply, meaning they don't provide the basic documentation. The basic documentation for every single event that comes to our office, at a minimum, is a site plan, a run of show, and insurance, right? And a lot of these applicants will wait until the last minute. Our team will be on the phone with them. We're not doing that anymore. The system is automatically sending them a 14-day notification before their event and a 7-day. And the language of the 7-day notification is quite harsh. It's basically saying, it's not rude, but it's saying you will lose your event. Your event will be denied if you don't provide the documentation. Okay? So that's what that is. Next slide. And that's what that speaks in. Any applied, that's what the applicant will see in red, bold, what you're missing. Next slide. Resources. So I think I'm getting into the history thing. So there's a find events feature. That's what's happening, what's on the horizon. If you go to the next slide, you'll see what that looks like. And that's where you can actually click on an event. You'll see the map location. You'll see, some attributes about it. That's going forward from present day to forward. Next slide. We also have what's known as an open data link. That's historical. So this is where you can, and I'll send out a PDF version of this presentation, but that open data has been around for years now. And that's part of OTI, which used to be Do It, Office of, what does OTI stand for? Office of Technology and Innovation. Okay. I'm used to Do It. So this will give you both current and historical information. All right. So our database has been in existence for over 10 years. So there's a lot of information captured. Next slide, please. I think we're done. That's it. Apologies. Dawn is a much more vibrant presenter than I am. So thank you very much.
You did awesome. I know questions because Betty and I have been going back and forth on things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start around the room. I promise none of us are going to be here very long and kill you.
Yeah.
Betty, I'm going to have you go
We're
first.
no murdering.
Yeah.
We had talked about questions that we want to ask applicants when they come to us for permits, SAFO permits and things like that. And a couple of them, we're working on developing a list, and the question starts to become, do you ask these questions? Are they embedded in your database in terms of everything from accessibility,
ADA stuff. Right?
ADA accessibility, routes,
Right.
access, all the way down to things like climate sensitivity. So are they using generators? Are they gas powered? What kind of noise pollution, like what are they looking at in what areas for amplification for sound? We've been working on many, many lists of questions like that. And so what we want to know is what kind of questions do you ask on your
Oh my
end?
gosh, that's very easy for me to, it'll be easy for me to give you, but I can speak to it at a high level. When the applicant goes on to say the event, they give the dates, they describe the event, name the event, they choose the location, and then the third category of their application is the questionnaire. It comprises of at least 28 to 30 questions. And within those questions, we do ask things along these lines. Now, we may not pitch it in a way of like, are you using environmentally conscious, resources? But we will ask, are you using a gas tank? What level of fuel are you, like how many gallons is that gas tank? We'll ask them, do they require a pole tap? When it comes to amplified sound, there is a question regarding decibels because then you have to get DEP involved, right? So I think the better approach from you rambling more further about it is to provide you with what that questionnaire looks like and what happens if some lunatic applicant answers yes to every single question, because that'll tell you how we guide them. So when they answer us, it's not just, it just doesn't sit in our office. It's instructive. Like once that applicant submits an application, the $25 fee, and it hits our queue, once we retrieve it, it triggers a status change. Remember when I was referring to that? The applicant then goes back onto e-apply and they will see applicant instructions based on their questions. And that's before their answers. That's before anybody from our office even has vetted that applicant. So it will guide them through who to see, who to consult. Like if there's a crowd issue, they have to contact FDNY.
Right, but our questions are a little bit
Yes,
different.
before.
Betty,
I'm chair of the Transportation Committee, but we're also Transportation and Street Activity Permit Committee.
Okay.
I can tell you where all your applications come to the same committee. We're also looking, because of our streets and the crowding, how are they advertising or getting information out for mass transportation into the district location where they're going to hold this event, get in and out? Because I did lots of surveys to look for things, and it's really abysmal that nothing is mentioned. I mean, even today, I will still get back to that, please, Stephen Still. It's very nice they're having a ferry from Pier 11, but most people aren't going to go that way and moving. It's like it's something broader coming out from, we're talking about just posting the information like New York does on their.
Right. So it's a great question. And I'm not BSing. I feel the pain that you're expressing with that. So I was left with a great task of ensuring that our website had something posted on July 4th. And it waited. We did not get the information we needed until July 3rd. And that's the challenge. Remember when I was saying, and we are going to push, I'm back with this agency. Dawn was there before and she's back again, and we're coming out and trying to re-engage because of the couple of years, and we're hearing it even in your meeting as well, like that whole reemergence of personal attendance. It's the same stuff happening with our enforcement of rules, right? And one of the things, I'm developing a whole lessons learned. So my point of bringing July 4th out is that all this stuff should be public, though, in the public space, at least a week. Something like July 4th should be at least a week, right? So ideally what should happen is agencies like 311 should post that information. There are 2 ferry services, right? There's Staten Island and NYC Ferry. They didn't post that until July 3rd, things like that. So the best we can do is the best someone gives us. So when there are big ticket events, the communication, I can go back to Dawn, I'm not going to commit to anything. I just know that we do that for the very large events. I know there are many large events that our office does not do that for, but I suspect that NYPD or DOT doesn't necessarily do that either. So, but you know what I mean? Yeah,
Definitely.
and so,
Definitely not, but like what we're looking for from a community perspective is 10,000 people is big.
you're talking about AHA first, right?
AHA, tower, I mean,
Yeah.
we have lots of really big stuff that comes. We want to know, like, what have they done for for-hire vehicles, right? Where's the accommodations for that? Where are the pedestrians restricted from using sidewalks or crosswalks? Right? Because there's nothing more frustrating if you're trying to get home to school to get your kid or whatever, to not be able to cross. Paths need to be shared
So
with the
at a
community.
very high level, because I have unfortunately I have a 7:30 hard stop, just so you know, but like,
No offense, but yeah.
yeah, but, yeah, the, write down stuff, like, send it to me in some sort of way, you know.
It's all done.
We have it.
Send it to me. Send it to me. You get a reply, email, but I'm not back until next year, don't worry about it. No, I'm just kidding. Send it my.
We're gonna send you something over the summer.
Yeah.
In August, we're gonna.
That's fine. That's fine. It's something, it's a mission that I have personally as well, just so you know. I don't know. I hear what you're saying. It's a matter of orchestrating, not just with the other agencies, but us, our agency, getting more involved. Like, when I asked, what was the woman's name? I forgot.
Susan.
Susan. When I asked Susan, you know, who she dealt with, you know, or if she ever did, I should have pitched it a little differently. I did want to know the name, but Desiree Beach is fantastic. She's been there forever. But Desiree Beach isn't necessarily what's the events portion of our team, which handles what we call big one-off events or campaign style events, right? Campaign styles like this, Hip Hop 50 and Rise Up, right? Big events are like Global Citizen once a year or this, you know? And you need someone from that portion of our office to be shepherding this stuff, because that person will coordinate the meeting, not just with the event sponsor, in this case, Susan, right? But also engage somebody from the community board, engage someone from FDNY and NYPD. This is what Chris does often too. And that's what you need, that kind of stuff. So that's why I asked. So now I know it's Desiree, and I'm gonna ask Desiree, who else does she work with in our office? And if she does it, that will change the state. You know what I mean? Like, I'll use that as kind of a.
I think what we'd like to do is, I'd like to also set up a meeting for community board one with your office. Simply because the amount of construction projects that we now have, which don't always come to you to first and foremost, or you don't know what we know about what's coming down the pipe. Right?
Right, yeah.
It's extraordinary different. Like, we know where the projects are currently and whether they're ahead, behind, or what have you. It will mainly affect the runs where sidewalks are no longer available or crosswalks are not necessarily.
I mean, and again, AHA, and I don't mean it, like, AHA is the perfect example of that.
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
that, right? And I had brought up AHA before this meeting. And because you brought it up 2 weeks ago, and I understood, and I heard about AHA 3 weeks, you know, we flagged it to the mayor's office, to the mayor himself. The construction, let me bring that, I don't want to speak out of my league in terms of construction. I think that we don't serve as the hub of all things happening construction-wise, because you're dealing with EDC, you're dealing with the sensitive nature of counterterrorism and all at one police plaza area, you live it, right? And so we should have a meeting about that. I just don't know, I don't know enough to how we can rein some of that information in. Because what we care, it sounds selfish, but what we care about is when we're looking at an event, then we know what's happening. We care about it 2 months ahead, you know what I mean?
Which is fine. I just think that some of the larger ones which take longer, they come to us 2 months in advance, the route's already set.
Yeah, it's not
That's not
acceptable.
helpful for us.
So Tammy, I know what you're talking about. I don't know if it's a feasible, I don't know. I've already talked to Dawn and Ray about how early community boards can engage. I mean, I know that's what you're talking about, and I'll bring it back to Dawn and get more information.
I'm not talking about 500 people. I'm talking about 20,000, 30,000.
But the AHA is a good example too, because that was 10,000,
Correct.
right? At least 10,000.
More than that.
More than that. Yeah, so I get that.
Right.
If I could just interject with a question, for you guys, what's an example of a good form of communication or how messages you may normally receive for these type of events? What is that method of communication for you, or what are some of these platforms? I know you mentioned maybe going online or, Fresh mentioned 311, but when it comes to the community board specifically, where do you guys get most of your information from if it's about a public event? Just understanding how, and where your eyes are.
Yeah.
Sorry?
A little piece of paper stuck to the front door. We're still dealing with that technology in 2023.
Yeah.
And it's usually the night before.
Yeah.
And the worst part about it is that even if there's been a lot of diligence done at your office in deciding what's appropriate, there's no manager. There's nobody overseeing what they actually execute. So in other words, if the permit says this and they execute that, we're not privy to the details of the permit. We can't say that they're violating it, but they can violate it and no one can call them on it because there's nobody overseeing it. What they do is they ask a producer to be the contact person for the residents, but the producer is working for them. And so it's at odds with like the
Yeah,
truth
I
a
mean,
lot of the time. So
I'm gonna challenge that, and maybe this will be beyond this meeting. That may be your experience of it. But I know for a fact that we have our team, members of our office, not at maybe every single event. But for example, we have someone from our events team at the AHA stuff, and they are doing pre-walkthroughs here and there. I'm receiving emails from like starting at 5, whatever that, in that case, it was an unusual, because they start later in the day. But like, the minute they'll indicate, I'll get notifications from our team about the corral, there's a problem there with the construction and all that stuff, right? And like the time, the first corral takes to the second corral, it's being monitored. Not every single event. And so when you talk about overseeing, and I question, what I challenge is sort of like, we're relying on the sponsor. It is true with these big events, the sponsor designates somebody to be part of ops for the event. So there's a police ops component to a lot of these things. The sponsor, usually like for these big marathons, is going to come in with their team of medical EMT people that's stationed at various places, crowd control things, and they are giving information. But we are relying on that person as well as NYPD, as well as FDNY for the bigger events.
For the bigger events, we would love, from a community board aspect, to have them come back to us within 60 days of the large event to talk about community impacts while it's still fresh in people's minds. So we can help them plan for how this could be better for the following year.
So you would like they being the event sponsor?
Yeah.
Correct.
For the bigger event?
Correct. And
So-
that way we can also get back to you and say, here are the things that definitely were not working. We've had that kind of relationship with Tunnels Towers. For the 5 borough, actually, they've come back to us because that kicks off in our neighborhood.
I would hope so, because the 5 boroughs been around for decades, right? So,
but I lived there with the speakers, and the waves of people. It has morphed and improved over time because that part of it has happened.
So another interesting thing would be to sort of come to me with these questions, and I do apologize because I am going to probably take off soon. Come, like, email, but what I can do is give you those. I'm just kidding, hold on. I don't know. Oh, these.
That's me.
Fine.
Fine me.
So what I can do is look at the last couple of years from the community board in the database. And let me eyeball it and get a sense of what kind of events were there. And when we export this stuff, we'll see if we get a sense of like what the attendance was for these events. And I'll send one of you guys, I'll send you the list, and then from there you can sort of pick off like, we would like these people to be more in connection with us, And that's just an ask, like that's a good springboard. So I'll do that.
I mean, I think at one point, we had one event, there was an elephant on the street, and I swear to God, and everybody knew. We've had all,
That's right.
yeah, we've had all kinds of funky things, and we enjoy the diversity that is New York. We want people to be welcomed and successful, but we need to balance the needs of businesses so they don't get rushed. I mean, I used the group that was here before, because we actually went to them and said, listen, you're crushing the businesses
Yeah.
where you are. And the following year, they went and utilized every one of the businesses on the route that they were at. The route they were food for their event, instead of bringing in outside.
I understand. I mean,
That's what I'm talking.
yeah, and so let's, we're in peak season.
I know.
And so by all means,
I know.
whenever you have like sort of a list, it sounds like someone's ready to go with a
Oh,
list.
she is.
Let's
she
get
is.
set my way, but do not, just, give me a little grace period with stuff, because we are in the throes of peak season here. I do have to read something, but I think the list also, to bring that back to you, will, and that's the second time you mentioned the elephant, Tammy, so I want to know what event that was.
Yeah, I just have one question before you leave. What's your staff? How do you monitor these? I'm just curious.
They don't.
Oh, well,
What?
the event, you're talking to someone that actually goes to these events.
But
Why
I've
do you tell me?
never seen, I'm on Duane Street, so we get everything because it's the widest street in Tribeca, right? So we get the movies, we get the the
Yeah.
parties, we get most of them are very nice, but I'm struck by the fact that 3 out of 4, when I finally called, and granted, a lot of the mayor's office, so lots of media and entertainment. But I'm struck that when I called that, one of them didn't have a permit at all. The other 2 had relied on a producer. That's what I do for a living. So I can tell you right now that if I'm a producer and my client is Disney, okay, I answer to Disney, not the person living at 132 Duane Street. And so, a successful film is going to be what I'm after. And they can walk away the next day and never see us again.
I
And so
understand this, but what you're talking about right now.
Yeah.
And again, I do agree, but what you're mentioning right now largely is in the film office space, right?
Yeah.
Agreed. So I
Agreed.
get,
So in terms, so we are street activity. That
Right.
doesn't mean it's on deaf ears.
right.
I understand, and we're still trying to reemerge just as our office, right? Street activity permitting, DOT owned property. Next prong of attack, and that's the wrong choice of words, is mode, is media and entertainment. But what
Fair
you're
enough.
talking about, and yeah, community board 1 is stunning for filming. So you get a lot of that,
It's different. I mean, I think it's also, just so you know, it's different in different areas of community board.
That's right.
There's more control over media and entertainment when it comes in Battery Park City, because
Yes.
they have a second floor.
Sure.
And they do not block the crosswalks. They do not, they are very different than they are in Tribeca, than they are in Friday, than they are in Seaport. But we can take this up. I know, we want to be respectful and
Yeah.
great.
Well, Olivia just sprung the extra meeting on me, so, I wasn't counting on it. So I do have, actually, I'm going to, so,
Oh,
I
no.
want to say thank you very much for coming.
oh, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
I hope it's helped, and,
Good, yeah.
It's great.
and, and I don't mean to be disrespectful
No,
either
no,
to you.
no.
I do think, one of the first steps is the more people are aware of the notifications we're giving you, at least on the onset,
Yeah.
the better off we are. That's a starting point.
I'm
And then
just
the
saying, I
corner-
called Lucy today saying, I see, barricades going up on Chambers. Can you do me a favor and look in the system and let me know as I was walking
Why?
out of here at like noon?
Was there anything?
Yeah, there's an event at, the Chambers building, the hall, whatever you,
Lumiere's.
the
Oh,
Lumiere.
Lumineers, that's what Christmas was supposed
It's on the way.
Yeah, they have a permit for their event tonight
And it's,
Um,
and the Hennessy.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go.
All right.
I'm sorry.
It was okay.
Congratulations, grandmother.
Yeah, thank you.
I
Okay. Yeah, well,
one question, in that email that you follow up with Paresh.
Yeah.
You can just prioritize I'm sure all of these things are important to you, as they should be. But as far as timely notifications, where that falls on your list, access to information, whether it be people on the hub, going through the portal, or however many people you want to add to that list, if any. And then lastly, that connection to producers, like that 60 days at least after that you guys mentioned, right? The connection to the event producers. So if you can just rank out of 1 to 3, like I said, I know they're all important, what you guys are looking for, just so I can kind of get an idea of how you know, we can prioritize these things moving forward and make sure you guys have all the assets.
I can tell you the number one question is for them to come back to us within 60 days to go over the quality of life impacts and opportunities for change for the following year.
That's a big one.
To
So,
be supportive,
Yes.
to be supportive for both them,
mm,
the city, and the community.
Yeah.
okay,
Number one.
okay. Number one, connection to the applicants. Yeah? All right.
Yeah.
Excellent. With that, it's been lovely meeting you all.
Thank
We're
you.
mostly on out of here, but
Thank you,
not
Chris.
before I leave you all my card.
Oh, good. Thank
So
you.
I will be your point person for all plaza activities in New York City. Any event that's happening, on New York City Plaza, bordering a street, there you go.
Thank you.
Bordering any open streets, I will be the, active. The point person and active coordinator.
Oh, thank you so much.
No problem. I might be out of cards before I make it all the way around the street.
Well, because I have one that's on.
That's Lucy needs.
She's.
I can share with Francis.
Well, hold on, last two. There you
All
go.
right.
You got one?
I'm good.
And
Oh,
this is
yeah.
the best thing.
Do you have
in the
one,
world,
Betty?
The QR code.
Oh, you like that?
I did,
Very
I did.
nice.
That was
Very
very easy, thank
Well,
you.
guys.
Very
Christopher,
appreciative.
Chris, thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you, Chris. That's amazing.
We are a community that
Yeah,
has a
so
lot of these things,
I don't have
so
QR code.
it's always a hot topic.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure.
Betty and I are gonna work on a nice list to get back
Sheriff
to you.
doesn't have it.
Chris is going to visit you.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
looking
just
forward
that.
to it. You all enjoy your evening, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. The good news is we're out of here in 6 minutes, because that's my goal.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
All right, so every committee has had a budget review. Everybody needs to think about it for the summer, come back prepared in September with new things. I heard from the Parks Committee that the Parks Committee may want to pare down what they have for things that have not been funded for decades. We're in a new administration post-pandemic. Take a look at the list. If you still want it funded, whether or not it's a pipe dream, I learned from some of the most unusual sources on our board in past years. Even if it's a pipe dream, don't forget to ask. Because it may be a pipe dream today, the next person who hits the mayor's office may say, I like that idea, I'm running with it.
One of the questions at Parks was in terms of the number, how many are we, because we had like a bunch,
Just keep going.
pages.
Doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
We have to give.
Somebody said that they were told that there was a certain,
There is.
A restricted limit.
a restricted number.
There's a restricted number they'll probably look at, but it doesn't mean we can't put the out.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have the licensing.
That was the question. Is there a number limit?
For full board on Tuesday. If you are with me in personnel, we need to do a personnel committee meeting before full board, because we got a bunch of emails in for our district manager. So that's one announcement. Two, we're gonna, in person, full board, in person in the borough president's office. Yep.
Okay, so what time do you want us there?
What time we do a personnel on?
Let's do it early.
5 o'clock?
We'll talk about that one topic, or you're going to talk about?
I can't hear.
Well, I don't think that Wednesday,
We don't have an answer yet, Pat.
So I think.
Okay.
5 o'clock
to
for the
5:30
personnel.
For personnel. And then I warn everybody, when you're coming to full board meeting, please arrive early so we can start on time. And if there's any doubt, there is no such thing as a blanket excuse for being remote. It is on a meeting by meeting basis, only approved by board chair. Hi, that's me. I'm sorry. But it's meeting by meeting. At borough board this morning, they said there is no such thing as a blanket. There's no chronic. It's meeting by meeting. So unless I've heard from you for whatever medical thing, surgery, et cetera, which I have heard from some board members, I expect to see everybody at the borough president's office on Tuesday. All right. I think we have Jason going first. Is the first-
I actually recused myself and was not chairing that.
I think Vicky. Vicki, you're going first, I think, at full board, right?
Yes, I will arrive in person and I will be there. And yes, Lucy said we're first. We can't hear you. Right, Pat? We can't hear anything.
Right, it's set, we're done.
Okay.
And then it's short. Environmental last.
Really?
All right, so.
That's still not
we're all
working?
set. When we come and talk committee reports, next time, it's just to tell me if anything is controversial. That's it. I don't need to know everything else because I should have actually sat my rear end in your meeting if I was really curious about it. That's where I'm going as we look ahead. If you're really curious, you can't make the meeting because it's not your committee, you can still watch it from home.
Yeah.
But I don't need everybody and all the chairs to repeat it in here because I want to make those shorter. I no longer, if you notice on chair reports, even when we come back in person, I'm not going over the 25 different events that I went. I list them all. I took a couple pictures, but you don't need me at the board to give a 15 to 20-minute report. I'd rather hear the electeds for what they're doing and kind of, and the public, and then move forward. But then again, I'm here. So if anybody has any questions, I don't think I've ever turned people away. All right? So with that, 8:47. 7:43, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.